Welcome to Secrets in the Dark, where we delve into the mysteries of infamous unsolved crimes. I'm your host Meg, and today we're unraveling the cold case of the Zodiac Killer. Now let's set the scene. It's Northern California in the late 60s, and his reign of terror has begun. It's December 20th, 1968. High school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were shot and killed on a secluded road. They were on their first date and had stopped in a well-known lover's lane. Faraday was shot in the head and Jensen was shot multiple times in the back as she tried to run away. So this is December 1968. This is his first murder, and we have not got much information. There was nothing left at the scene and the police could not get much information. We skip forward the next year to July 4th, 1969. Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mago were sitting in their car at Blue Rock Springs Park, where they were shot. Mago survived and described the attacker as a white male, about 5'8", heavy-set with short curly brown hair. He used a flashlight to blind them before shooting them multiple times. So this is the first time the police have got a description of the Zodiac and a survivor. So he's had one survivor now. Now we skip forward to September 27th, 1969. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were having a picnic near Lake Beressa when they were approached by a man wearing an executioner-style hood with a crosshair symbol on his chest. He tied them up, then stabbed them multiple times. He wrote a message on the car door of Hartnell's car, including the dates of the previous attacks, the time, and a symbol resembling a crosshair. Hartnell survived, but Shepard died from her injuries 2 days later. So this is the first time we have had any sort of communication from the Zodiac. He's left a symbol of a crosshair, and there is another survivor. So he so far has left 2 survivors behind, and the police are kind of reeling in on what he's wearing and who he is. Now we skip to October 11th, 1969. Cab driver Paul Stein was shot in the head by a passenger he picked up. The killer took a piece of Stein's shirt, which he later sent to the press to prove his involvement. Several people saw a man leaving the scene, described as a white male, about 34 to 45 years old, 5'8 to 5'10", with a crew cut and glasses. So the police have now had 3 witnesses, all describing the same type of man. The police are now on the case. To me, it's very kind of odd, but luckily there's been survivors. Now, the letters and the ciphers. One of the most chilling aspects of the Zodiac Killer's case in his correspondence with the press. He sent over 20 letters and postcards to newspapers filled with cryptic messages, taunts and threats. His first letter was sent to 3 newspapers on August 1st, 1969, each containing part of a cipher. The Zodiac demanded that the letters be published or he would kill again. The first cipher was solved by a school teacher and his wife, revealing a disturbing message about his desire to kill. However, many of his ciphers remain unsolved to this day, leaving researchers and enthusiasts puzzles. In my opinion, I feel like it's smart on his behalf of leaving his ciphers, kind of taunting them, because obviously that says part of him. He's a taunter. He wants to showboat what he's done to these people, but also it can help the police a lot because they are able to profile these things and go, well, this is what he's like. And really because they have a description of him. Now they're getting these ciphers which say a lot about his personality, and they're able to kind of narrow in on the type of subject he is and give a description to people. Over the years, several suspects have been linked to the Zodiac Killer case, and the most well-known suspect is Arthur Lee Allen. He was heavily investigated but never charged, despite circumstantial evidence. There was not enough to definitively connect him to the crimes, but There were so many other suspects and theories have emerged, ranging from disgruntled former military personnel to unknown serial killers operating in the Vienna area. The Zodiac's true identity remains a mystery. So, Arthur, he did wear the Zodiac watch and bore the same symbol inscribed on all the Zodiac Killer's anonymous letters. His personality also fit that of a serial killer. He was on the quiet side, socially awkward, and was a known pedophile. His handwriting did not match the Zodiac's, which is why he was eventually let go as a subject. But over the years, they took many, many samples, including him writing on both hands, as he was ambidextrous. Beyond that, the bloody fingerprints taken from Paul Stein's cab did not match his prints taken from other previous victims. So that is another reason why they had let him go as a suspect. But still, there's so many various theories and suspects over the years that people think, but he has not been caught. So, the Zodiac Killer has had a lasting impact on law enforcement and like current culture. There's been so many movies. There's been a movie about him. It's called The Zodiac Killer. It has Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal in it. It's such a good movie. I really recommend it. It's very interesting to like see the police perspective, and I love stuff like that. It's really interesting, and there's a couple documentaries on it, so it's really immersed, like the story's immersed itself in the popular culture, and it's actually impacted police work, so it's led to changes in investigative techniques, and it's inspired numerous books and movies, like I said. And the mystery still captivates the public, and people are always trying to still figure out who it is, and the speculation. It's such an interesting story. So now we're up to the part where I give my thoughts on it. So, to me, I think that it's obviously, I think it's Arthur. The first time I watched the documentary, I really did think it's him. But I also was like, surely they'd have to have a connection somewhere. Like, there's so many missing answers. Like, in the ciphers, they have not solved any of the ciphers. There's so many that have been unsolved that I feel like if they had solved them, like, there'd be an answer in there. I feel like the Zodiac Killer would have left an answer somewhere. Just, unfortunately, they haven't been, like, they're puzzled. Like, I just think if they'd been solved, he would have been caught. And there's so much speculation that the Zodiac Killer is actually, like, really old. So in Paul Stein's, he was described about 35 to 45, and years later there's like still some cases people are like, well, maybe it was the Zodiac Killer, because he has 5 confirmed deaths and 2 injured, but he has claimed to have 37 kills. And there's like people still reckon that some murders today, people go, oh, what if that was the Zodiac Killer? And like, I don't think it is, because if he was 35 to 45 in 1969, he'd be old. He'd be dead by now. But it's just crazy to think that he's had such a lasting impact. And, you know, some other serial killers have done things like the Zodiac and taunted the police, which, on the police's behalf, which is just so draining, I think. Like, it's so hard when they're being taunted the whole time. But I think it's Arthur, or like someone known to Arthur as well. Like, I've seen some things where where people reckon it's partners, or even like copycats. So they're like some of the cases that are like he was dressed up like the Zodiac Killer. People think they could be copycats, so people are like copying the Zodiac Killer, doing what he did, just to be like that. Because, you know, people like to copy. Yes, so that's my opinion on the Zodiac Killer. And we have come to the end. So today we've explored the terrifying and unsolved mystery of the Zodiac Killer. Will we ever uncover the true identity of this murderer? Only time will tell. Thank you for joining us on this journey into one of America's most baffling cases. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to tune in next week for an episode on JonBenet Ramsey.